Congressman Jim Jordan now from the great state of Ohio, ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee in Focus Now. Congressman, what are the whistleblowers telling you, and what do you have to say about that statement just now from the FBI?
Established policies and procedures. Are you kidding me? They've raided, in the past several weeks, they've raided the home of a former president, taking the phone of a sitting member of Congress, and we saw what they did to the pastor and his family and 7 children. 20 agents, gun drawn, going to his house when the local officials said there was no crime whatsoever. So established policies, you've got to be kidding me. So that's what's going on at the FBI, and now what's happening is the people who are brave enough to take whistleblower status and come talk to us, they're coming after them. And remember when it started, Harris? It started a few weeks ago when Merrick Garland, when we first talked about this, Merrick Garland sent out a memorandum to everyone in the Justice Department. Here are the rules and guidelines for when you talk to Congress. It was a memo to chill their speech. And since that, we've learned of people's security clearances being revoked and now suspensions for FBI whistleblowers who've come to us. So if that's not retaliation, tell me what it is, because it sure looks that way. I'm sure they got something they're going to say that, oh, it's not. But that's what it appears to the American people to be. That's certainly what it appears to us and our lawyers to be.
I'm curious, and I know that you probably can't talk about this in detail right now, but 2 things. One would be, is there evidence where, you know, because everybody saves their text messages and emails and that sort of thing. Is there something to work with? Because that's what we had with Page and others at the FBI. That's how we knew that there was bias there.
Yeah, we're trying to get that. We've sent countless letters, I mean, literally hundreds to the Justice Department and other entities about preserving documents, giving us information. If you're not going to give it to us, preserve that. If the American people put us in the majority, when we can subpoena and get that information. So, yeah, we're trying to get that. But I'll tell you what, we have had some of these whistleblowers give us some information. This is how we learned they were putting this threat tag designation on parents that they were treating as domestic terrorists. So it was a whistleblower who gave us that information, showed us the EDU officials threat tag, this categorization, this designation that they were putting on moms and dads. And it was also whistleblowers who came and told us that over 24 parents were in fact investigated with this process Merrick Garland set up. None of them were charged, but the FBI showing up at your door because you're a mom who cares about the education of your kid and you showed up at a school board meeting, that's frightening stuff. But again, it's all designed to chill speech and satisfy this narrative of Joe Biden where he goes out and calls half the country fascists and extremists. We know from whistleblowers they're trying to juice the numbers and cook the books to have all these cases labeled as domestic violent extremism cases, when in fact these agents are telling us they're not. But that's what they're trying to do.
Well, look, let's talk about the whistleblowers themselves, because I'm curious to know, are you planning to put whistleblowers into this case? Are you going to bring them to a House Judiciary Committee hearing and let them tell their point of view? We saw Democrats across the aisle from you do that a lot during the Trump administration, you know, taking those whistleblowers, those witnesses into the case for whatever. If it's political, I don't know. But what's your plan?
Yeah, we would love to do that, but that's a call for the whistleblower. Again, they can they get to stay anonymous here. They're not supposed to be retaliated against. It sure looks like that's what's happening at the Justice Department, but that's up to them. If they're willing to go public, sure, we will have them go public, but we leave that up to them. There's been a couple who went public and they've been on Fox Network on Mr. Bongino's show. So he was one of the first guys to talk to us, and he decided to go public. God bless him for doing it. But we will do that, yes, but it's up to the whistleblower in the end to decide that.
So that's a fascinating point, because chilling free speech is one thing, but these people are being quieted by the FBI, who raid homes.
Yeah. Well, in light of what we've seen from this FBI over the past several months and frankly over the last year, starting with the School Boards Association, and it shouldn't surprise us that they're also trying to do things to agents who maybe share a political view that's conservative or Republican. So that I think is just scary stuff. One of the things I think we're going to really focus on is, you go to use the school board issue as an example. We know there was communications between the left-wing School Board Association, the White House, the Justice Department, and the Department of Education prior to the initial letter being sent. So I want to know about those communications. Did the White House encourage the School Board Association to reference the Patriot Act and say, let's use counterterrorism measures against parents? If they did, if they were on the front end encouraging that, That is truly frightening, but I think that may have happened. We want the evidence. We're determined to get it, and a host of other issues that we're determined to get to the bottom of.
Yeah, what you're looking for is command and control. Who was really pushing the buttons to get people to do this? And look, there are so many thousands of agents in the FBI who are not tainted by the suspicion of this, and they still have to do their job. So we do need to get to the bottom of this so that everybody, you know, the high tide raises all boats. Everybody's got to get back on the page so that we're protected. I don't know if Democrats have noticed, but crime might need some FBI agents' help in this country.
There's someone at the highest levels of the FBI who made a decision to send 20 agents to the pastor's home instead of just going to talk. 20 agents. Who made that decision? We need to know that, because that is, everyone understands that is completely wrong. They did that, though, and someone decided that's how they were going to operate. That is, again, that is scary.
So let's find out who that was.
Exactly.
All right, let's get to this. 39 days we are now away from the midterm elections. And Americans are fed up with the crime crisis. I was just talking about it. We're going to need all hands on deck, because a lot of those blue cities right now are a dangerous mess. One Philadelphia reporter called out the city's liberal district attorney, Larry Krasner, on the air. Watch.
You are a reformed district attorney. Everybody in the country knows that. But maybe it's not working.
It is working. The reality is that our
1,000 people killed in 20 months.
It is working. And there is absolutely no correlation between being progressive or traditional and the rate of crime. These states in the United States that have a rate of homicide that is 40% higher are MAGA states.
You know, Republicans say the opposite. It's all the blue cities.
Republicans lie.
Ooh, okay, but the numbers don't lie. More than 380 murders in Philadelphia this year. New York and Los Angeles, nearly as bad. The people want change. Those are blue cities. The people want change. Recall efforts are now underway to try to boot Krasner from his position. And you say what?
Well, first of all, I mean, his argument is so ridiculous. He basically said there's no correlation with letting bad guys stay on the street and increase crime. Are you kidding me? Like, how dumb does he? I mean, that is just crazy. But this is the left. I mean, he accused Republicans of lying. Obviously, that is a false statement, and you just cited the evidence from what's happening in his city of Philadelphia. So, look, I think don't vote for anyone who's not willing to be tough on crime. Don't vote for anyone. I don't care what party they are. Don't vote for anyone who's not willing to say you should be able to choose where your son or daughter goes to school, who's not for school choice. Those are sort of fundamental things that I think families across this country get. They want safe streets, they want good schools, and they would like the choice to decide where their son or daughter is going to get the best education, where their son or daughter is going to be safe. Those are fundamental issues in this election, and I think in 39 days when people walk in, they're going to remember that, and they're going to vote for conservatives and Republicans.
And you're already seeing early voting. And people are going. So, you know, the numbers of people who are in the lane of they haven't quite decided yet, those numbers are still relatively high in some places, but they're coming down because people are already casting their votes. And if they're doing it now and they're experiencing this, they may be following your lead on who protects you best. Representative Jim Jordan, thank you so much. Always great to have you in focus.
Good to be with you, Harris. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.